Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Dojo Live. Um, Joining us Wednesday, today, the 19th of June, where we're basically here to have lively, informative, informal, and fun conversations with tech. So, hello. My name is Kim. Did I say that already? I don't think I did. With me is my usual co host, Carlos Ponce.
Hi, Kim.
Hey, Carlos. We switched roles today. I'm usually the one who's at the office, and you're usually the one who's working
Yeah.
from home. Yeah. And of course, our guest of honor. I'm sorry, Carlos?
That's the beauty of working with Learsoft. You can do that at your leisure and
Yeah,
convenience.
yeah, exactly. So I'm in that weird segue between school's out, but there's no summer camps yet. So I get to take advantage of that. So today we're here to discuss data science and specifically the building of a data product. And here to tell us more is Jon Morra, VP of Data Science at Zefr. So welcome to Dojo Live, Jon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. So Jon, first things first, why don't you please tell us a bit more about yourself and your background?
Yeah, great. So my name's Jon Morra. Like I said, lead the data science efforts here at Zefr. Really in charge of figuring out how best to use our data to help our customers find the best videos they want to advertise against. Prior to this, I ran data science at eHarmony. I was the director of data science there. I helped decide who got matched with whom, algorithmically, of course. I helped with pricing modeling, with fraud modeling, churn modeling, kind of touched everything. Before that, I had my own venture doing machine learning methods in radiation oncology. So using machine learning to help basically oncologists treat cancers, various types of cancers. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering where I focused on machine learning methods in brain analysis. So
Wow.
I've been doing machine learning since before the term data science was popular. And I just kind of started calling myself a data scientist around 2013 when I realized that I had a background in both machine learning and computer science.
All right. So that's actually was going to lead me into one of my questions is this huge broad spectrum of what is data science. And we can get into that right after. I think you mentioned a bit about Zefr and the product that you guys have and the problem that you're solving. So that's I'm really intrigued by the oncology element. And so I'm like, no, Kim, no, like don't divert. But so advertising, okay. So by this in video advertising, I'm assuming you specifically mean things like it or
So yeah, so basically right now, the way kind of Zephyr's high level pitch is that if you're a particular brand and you have preferences about where your ad runs, in front of which videos, you might want to work with Zephyr to help understand those preferences and act upon them. We primarily work on YouTube today, although we're looking to expand that. And we know this is really important because in a medium like video advertising, it's really hard to ignore the ad. And, a lot of people feel that the ad is more or less an endorsement of the content it runs against. So if you run against the right content, this can be really advantageous for your brand. And there's lots of studies that show if you run against the wrong content, it can be detrimental to your brand.
hurtful. Yes. And it's really interesting because I think it's there's got to be the sweet spot because I'm totally one of the people. Most of the time, I have to admit, I'm the one who just looks at the countdown for the skip ad button. It's like,
Yep.
okay, and yeah.
Yeah. So that's, no one, we all recognize you don't go to YouTube or Facebook Watch or anywhere to watch ads, right? But, I think everyone understands that there's this trade-off they're making, that they're not paying for the content, therefore it has to be supported some way, ergo ads.
Yep, exactly. Ads. I like how before we called them commercials, right? Which is almost like an something that's non-existent now. I think it's funny because at home, my daughter, we don't even use television, right? She only uses internet. Like I literally do not have the local news turned on or anything ever. Like the signal's terrible. It's non-existent. So it's basically YouTube and Netflix. And here in Mexico, we have something called Claro Video, which is basically Mexican version of Netflix. And that's it, right? So like I don't even think she has a proper concept of what a real commercial is.
It's funny you say that because a lot of Zephyr's business is basically taking from linear TV, right? Linear TV is traditional TV where you watch what's prescribed to you at the time it's prescribed, and you have, 2 to 5 minute ad breaks. And God, I have a 5-year-old daughter who I don't think understands that there's some shows with commercials where you stop and you can only watch at a certain time. She just doesn't get it. She's like, just put on Netflix, YouTube. I want to watch what I want to watch now.
When I want to watch it. Exactly. And I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah. And then we're coming from that generation, Carlos, too. I know where you could like sing along with the commercials. Like the commercials were part of the fun, you know.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Very good. So back to our topic here of data of data science in general. So you started calling yourself a data scientist back in 2013, which is back in. It's only been 6 years. But data science, the way I understand it, is basically this conversion where math, statistics, computer science, and then business knowledge all kind of, you know, where they come into a collision. So am I right, or how close or wrong am I?
I would say that's a fair description of, you know, potential definitions of data science, right? It's really not well defined, and you can go on the internet and probably find a dozen definitions by people who, you know, are experts in the field, and they're all slightly different or maybe a lot different. I will say that having been in the field for quite a while, I have a definition. That doesn't mean it's the right definition or the only.
Please, your definition and your day-to-day life. What does it mean to you?
So in my mind, a data scientist is somebody who ingests knowledge about the past and makes predictions about the future. Pretty simple, right? And can understand the quality of their predictions, makes the fast enough predictions. But it's a pretty simple definition, and it really differs from like a BI, a business intelligence or business analyst, as somebody who more reports on the past, right? And again, this is just my definition, and other people might have different definitions. But really, that's what I think of as data science. And when I think of data science effectively used in industry, especially, is I want to have a spot where I can make lots and lots and lots of relatively small and inconsequential predictions, each one, but summed together, they create a new business, right? Right? Like I'm much better in aggregate, or data science is much better in aggregate other methods, but each prediction maybe doesn't have that much value. And that's certainly what we have here at Zefr, and that's what I've had at other stops in my career when applying machine learning in industry.
So it's like all the little grains of sand together weigh a ton.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's kind of what I think of as data science. In order to do this, yes, you need a background in some statistics, although that's getting relaxed as the tools get better, although I still encourage it. You definitely need a background in computer science to understand the tools. The background in math also is becoming less important, but you can get yourself into nasty situations if you don't understand the math behind algorithms. And in the business, like understanding the business is a requirement to be an effective data scientist. And basically checking your ego at the door is also a requirement that I, you know, early in my career especially was guilty of. This idea that I don't walk in and just know what to do, I'm listening before I can make predictions that are of any reasonable quality.
I love that. And is that like an element that you also look for as, I mean, as VP, I'm sure you're involved in hiring and team building and all these types of things. So that's a really key element for you. The humility, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for sure. Unlike other orgs at Zefr, and frankly other orgs in other companies, I actually value diversity in backgrounds. So I think, trying to think if I've hired anybody with ad tech experience, maybe one person. Reason is because if you come, I have somebody who works for me a background in physics, and somebody who has a background in gaming, and somebody who has a background in, well, just out of school, like, so basically no background. And all of these things kind of come together to help us understand our particular data set the best. So, you know, as you heard me talk about my career, I went from brain to cancer to love to advertising. There's, the clear through line is data, right? And so I really value that in the data scientist, because each one brings a fresh perspective, a new way to look at it. And if you've never been in ad tech, you must be humble, because you walk in being like, I don't know anything about the business. Let me learn and understand. And usually that makes more effective models.
Very good.
John,
go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you something, John. In this, well, you're building a data product, you're building a content targeting solutions. In this space of content targeting for YouTube advertising and things, would you like to say that you're, in a way, one way or another, you're disrupting the status quo, and if so, how?
So, okay, so I'm going to give a brief, hopefully less than 30 seconds, history of advertising. because I think it's important to answer your question. That's a great question. So back in the day, let's say, 100 years ago, if you wanted to advertise, you had a product that was used by a person, you couldn't reach that person. You could advertise against specific content. Maybe it was a newspaper or a radio show or a television show or whatever it was, right? With the advent of the internet, you had the ability to target people. And so what happens is the advertising industry acts like a pendulum. We have content and it starts to swing to audience because it can. And what we see is it got all the way to audience and there's a backlash towards content, right? And we see that in the industry right now, this term of brand safety. I don't know if you guys know that term, hot button term. Basically, safety is this idea that it's really, really bad for your brand to be against certain types of content. And once you open that can of worms, you realize, well, it's not that I want to find the right people no matter where they are. I want to find the right people at the right time, right? There's basically two types of industries you could say were kind of disrupting. One I already hit on is linear TV, right? This idea that people are leaving linear TV, it's undisputed, right? The other is this idea that as audience data is slightly becoming less valuable, both because brands want it to, right? They recognize that, hey, the content matters. Okay, we have to have some, and some brands it's swung way back towards content, right, where we play. And some it's becoming less valuable because of legal regulations, right? The General Data Privacy Regulation, GDPR, Europe, and the California Consumer Privacy Act, don't quote me on my acronyms, in California, basically devalue audience data. And as these regulations become more strict and are implemented in more places, content targeting is necessary because, to the best of my knowledge, that's the only two ways to advertise your product, either to a person or through a piece of content.
I see. Okay. I'm sorry, Kim. I interrupted you. I have a whole bunch of stuff, but please.
No, continue. If
Okay.
you have a lot more questions in your pocket, whip them out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you also is in the process, in the journey of building a data product, is especially when you're talking about video, because video is is unique in a way that it's very demanding of everything in terms of bandwidth, in terms of production, and anything at all. So how do you have any limitations that you are currently addressing or that you're concerned about in order to grow exponentially?
Oh my goodness, so many. So I'll do a brief overview of the history of how I arrived at the spot we are now and what we're doing right now. It took a long time to realize when I started at Zefr that we don't get good content data through the platform, through YouTube, right? It's obvious in hindsight, right? But I'll use an analogy I used to work at. We used to work at eHarmony, right? When I worked at eHarmony, the system would tens of millions of matches every day, right? Two people that we thought would fall in love. Those people either talked or they didn't. The next day, I got all that information back, whether they talked or they didn't. That is phenomenal, what's called training data, right? Data upon which I want to model. Because you go to eHarmony to find love. So if I can give you more matches that you talk to, which is a proxy for love, you will be more happy, right? That kind of natural implicit feedback doesn't exist at Zefr. And the reason it doesn't exist is because no one goes to YouTube to watch a video. You know what? This is the perfect video for Clorox, or this is the perfect video for Nearsoft, or literally anybody, right? They go because they want to watch the content they want to watch.
Video.
Exactly. So again, in hindsight, obvious, but took me a long time to realize that. So in order to apply machine learning and data science at scale at Zefr, we need to create that signal. Right? So we needed to go out and watch videos on behalf of brands. To your point, video is a very nuanced platform, right? You can't just look at, hey, the word in the title contains basketball, therefore it's appropriate for everyone that wants to advertise on basketball. No, we know that's not true. And even some, things that might be obvious, like, is this video in English, is not nuanced. I've seen videos that are, spoken English, French subtitles, and Thai descriptions, right? maybe it's in English, maybe it's not. You know, that's the beauty of YouTube. It's wide open. So once we realized this, then we started to build product around people watching videos and taking their actions and putting them in production via data science, right? And so there's a lot to unpack there, but that's kind of the overview of how we arrive at the process we're at right now, which is where we have tens, maybe close to 100,000 or so structured reviews of videos, where we ask somebody a question that was appropriate for brands, like for instance, is this video about health and wellness, right? They gave us an answer, and we've done that lots and lots of times. That's our training data for our machine learning project.
Thank you so much. Just a quick interruption, and this is for the audience. If you have any questions for Jon, that are burning questions for Jon, just send it over on Twitter. It's at Dojo Live. Simple as that. Just send them over on Twitter. We'll read them back to Jon right here, and he'll respond live. And if not, if you're watching these at a later time on our website, just keep an eye on our Twitter feed, which is at Dojo Live, as I just mentioned. And we'll make sure that Jon gets your question. And of course, all Jon's information and his company's information as well is going to be right there on Dojo Live's website. So, okay, I have one more question, and I'm going to pass on the mic.
Can I just have one question that I think is kind of related to this answer that we're just giving? And I'm almost embarrassed to ask this because I'm like,
oh, please.
But let's talk about this machine learning, like as far as machine learning in video is concerned. Yeah. So you're basically teaching the computer to watch videos and determine what type of content is there?
Oh, great question. Great question. So we don't have, like we talked about, we don't have this implicit signal. So we created an explicit signal. Now you get into the part that gets me really excited, right? The machine learning part. This is the cool part. So there's a couple of things to kind of start with. It is against YouTube's terms of service to download the video at the scale that we need to download. So we give you some numbers. At Zefr, we know of about 4.5 billion YouTube videos. We whittle that down to a working set of about 60 to 80 million or videos that we think are capable of an ad and would be useful to any advertiser, right? So that's a huge reduction right off the bat, but still a very big pool. Way too big to have people watch every video for every advertiser. So we have to find patterns in these videos. Now, it turns out that the metadata on YouTube for that set of videos that we think are capable of running an ad are actually pretty descriptive, because if you upload to YouTube and you do so to make money, it's advantageous to write really good titles and descriptions and SEO, search engine optimization tags that describe your video because you want it to be found and surfaced and watched. This is how you on YouTube. Very good for us. We can understand, for the most part, by looking at the metadata around the video. And so the machine learning component is saying, okay, can I take this metadata, the title, the description, the thumbnails, the number of views it has, the number of likes it has, its related videos, all this other information about it, format it in a way that the machine can understand it and find that correlate to a label. So you have a video that has a label. This is good for elements. Another video that has another label. This is content, right? Because we actively find it to remove it, right? Up, machine learning algorithms find the patterns in the. I can unpack as much about how the intricately works. It's I love the most, but I'll leave it to you.
Okay, very good, very good. So it's still the machine learning element is still on than it's visual or record. I'm sorry, my connection's bad.
No, that's okay. Try again.
No, is this better?
Yeah.
All right. So even though you're looking at video content, it's actually the metadata is still written content. So it's perusing.
So it's all of that, right? The great thing about machine learning, as opposed to, let's say we were doing this with keywords, right? Which is another, people try and do this kind of work, is in keywords, there's a lot of problems. You have no nuance. You can only look at the text data. You cannot write like very complicated rules. Stuff like negation is really hard to do. Like this, like if you had a title, this video not about basketball, right? Like a person would be like, okay, well, why would I put that in a basketball, you know, whatever. But the machine, it's really hard. So machine learning, what it allows you to do is say, hey, person, you don't have to find the patterns, right? The machine, the algorithms are going to go and find the right patterns. And because they're going to do that, the number of variables the machine can observe is way more than a person can observe. Like we can have a rule that says, hey, if the number of likes is high and the number of dislikes is low and the number of views is high and these 3 words appear and these 2 words don't appear and the thumbnail looks like this, then this is the decision, right? Something that you as a person could never find those patterns. But what you can provide that the machine can't is the ability to watch that video and say, holistically, this video is about this. I don't know why, I can't tell you all the rules about why, but my life experience allows me to make this decision. And people are exceptionally good at that, way better than machines are. Machines are way better. Given a bunch of those decisions, find the exact patterns.
Okay, so you're using machines to narrow down the 4.5 billion videos. And then there is a people element to you at Zefr.
Yeah, it's really important. So it's actually, I was just at a machine learning conference last week called ICML, the International Conference on Machine Learning. It's local to me. It's a very important conference. And one of the whole days they had at that was on human in the loop learning, HIL or HILL. We actually have a whole engineering team here called HIL because we recognize that is what we're doing, right? The loop here, is machine learning, right? You get some data you want to train that has, you extract patterns, you create a model, you put it in production, you make predictions, you're told whether those predictions are right or wrong by the human, repeat. So this is something that we've been doing here for a while. It's well understood in the academic literature, which is ICML. Lots of other companies do this. There's whole industries around labeling, you know, and we use those industries.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're coming up on time. And so before we wrap up, actually, there's one more thing.
Yeah.
On my end, okay? And what, in your industry, in your space, what keeps you up at night regarding to, I don't know, maybe growth, your tech platform, your market challenges, whatever you want to share with us?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. So what I'll highlight is this concept called drift. So drift is actually a term of art in machine learning. And what it means is the thing you're modeling, the distribution you're modeling, changes over time, right? And that is exceptionally true on a platform as diverse as YouTube. And it appears in a number of different ways. You know, new videos get uploaded, or the same video all of a sudden has its meaning changed. Like the subject of the video did something awful in real life, and all of a sudden this video that was fine yesterday is no longer fine because of what the person did out of YouTube. That is hard to keep up with. And the only way that we know of to keep up with it is to basically turn this crank as fast as we possibly can, right? And the ability to do that fast and with accuracy, because that's the key. If people are watching videos and giving us the wrong answers, the whole thing falls apart. So how do we do it? How do we do it at the speed we need to do it and the quality we need to do it? Now, a lot of my job is figuring out how to do that, but in a way that, you know, keeps all our customers happy is a big endeavor.
There you go.
Because it literally is an ocean of information, and it's really very analogous or to the literal ocean, right? Like, I mean, when this is a kind of morbid example, but if a plane crashes in the ocean, it's near impossible to even locate it or find remnants, you know, because it just moves along and it doesn't stop, right? It's not going to be like, wait for us. Yeah. You're a very good teacher, John. I have to say, you're able to take something that I was clueless about and actually feel like I'm following along quite closely. So congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Very good. So we really are kind of to the end of our so when it comes to somebody who is very interested into data science or continuing in their creation of the data product of their own, what might be some of your final words of wisdom? Like, what is the must in your field, aside from having the humility that we discussed earlier?
I would say in industry specifically, the must is you have to understand what you're modeling and make sure that what you're modeling is valuable to the business. So often, especially academics, can get in their head that, hey, I'm going to take this signal and optimize it really well. And the business says, that's great, I don't care. So I constantly challenge myself. I challenge the other people, the other executives, other orgs to say, if I gave you a perfect predictor of X, whatever we're predicting, would we basically just throw our hands up and go home because we've made all the money in the world? And if the answer is not, yeah, obviously, we're probably not attacking the right problem. We need to think bigger. So because I definitely won't give you a perfect predictor, right? But I'm going to try my best at every step that we make is more money to the business, right? More money. We're constantly, this is better. And again, at eHarmony, we had that. We predicted whether or not two people would fall in love. If we were right every single time, well, yeah, obviously it's a perfect product and everyone would use it, right? And the same thing at Zefr, right? If we make the right prediction that this video is perfect for every single brand, every single time, right? Yeah, why would you go advertise anywhere else? We're perfect every time, right? And so these are the kind of things that I constantly would challenge, especially new data scientists, people from engineering, and people who are working with data scientists to remember, make sure you're constantly working on the right problem because it's hard. It's really hard.
I kind of like that. I kind of like the we're perfect every time part. So I'll quote you on that. And
No,
He forgot the key word there, which was if.
Yeah.
If. There's a very small but gigantic word.
hashtag we're perfect every time. So,
No, please don't.
okay. So listen, it's been really a pleasure to chat with you today, John. I look forward to being in touch, and of course the audience. If anyone wants to get a hold of you or contact you or Zefr, where do they go?
So obviously you can go to zefr.com. You could ping me on LinkedIn.
ZEFR, correct?
Zefr.com. Yeah.
Okay.
You can definitely ping me on LinkedIn. I check that quite a bit. Twitter, I check less, although you can hit me up on Twitter as well. But yeah, I love questions. I'm actually doing another talk tonight. I love, speaking. I love meeting with other people who are data scientists or interested in the field. So yeah.
Excellent. Of course, it's all going to be there, folks, on the Dojo Live website, dojo.nearsoft.com. With that being said, again, John, thank you so much, and I'm going to pass it on to Kim for wrap up.
That's it. All I had to say is, John, thank you so much for your time today, for making something as overwhelming as data science not feel so overwhelming. I really do appreciate it. I think that you gave a lot of very helpful insight and words of wisdom to people like yourself. And once again, thank you. And good luck to yourself. Good luck to Zefr. And I really hope you can figure out how to get perfect advertising every time. I would appreciate it also in my YouTube adventures.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.